All right, it's time for a new episode of Go Talk. Today I have Eric Lui. Hi, Eric.
Hi. Hello.
Hey. I've known Eric for a while, and Eric is the most recent Go professional for the AGA, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Congratulations. Let's start out just with everything in the beginning. I think I've known you, for a couple of years. I mean, we're not like best of friends, but we know each other. I think first time I met you might have been at Rochester, but
I think it was in Houston. No?
oh, we actually talked at Houston. Oh,
2003, right?
yeah, I went to Houston. I don't know if I because I remember Rochester. Like we played a game after all of Go Congress was done, and that was like when I first talked to you about like maybe how you got started playing Go. But I guess let's start with
Wow.
yeah,
A good memory.
I because I think it was like the last day, and then everything was packing up, and I was like, "You're around my age. Let's play a game." And then you were like, "I'm really strong." Well, you didn't say it, but I looked at your badge. and was like, "Oh, you're really strong." I was still like, like a 7Q or something at that time.
Ah,
But I think how'd you start playing Go?
well, when I was really young, my dad first introduced me to the game, I think. My dad's also a strong player himself.
Yeah.
So,
So he did he just teach it to you like just like here you go, or did he actually was like is it sort of like with parents and piano or something like this is what you're going to learn for a couple of years until you get to a certain rank?
yeah, I'm sure it was something along those lines. But after maybe like close to 2 years after I started, I had a teacher.
Okay.
I mean, who was my dad.
Your dad was your first teacher, or you had another teacher outside of your dad?
Well, at the very beginning, I guess it was just my dad who introduced me.
Okay.
I'm not sure he really taught me much, but at least the very beginning.
Uh-huh.
I, yeah, I mean, I remember there was a program called Many Faces.
Hmm.
So
And so you just like set you in front of it and just made you play a bunch?
yeah, I think something like that. Yeah, like back then, Many Faces was like 10Q or something, and now like computer programs are so much stronger now.
Right. And
Yeah,
then,
long way.
so you had a teacher pretty early. Who was your teacher? Was it Elin Yang?
Yes,
Okay.
Pyongyang, Yang,
Oh, cool.
professional 7 Dan.
Yeah. So how long did you take lessons from him? Did you take him for a while or just for a couple of years?
It was more than a couple of years.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
because he lives in California,
Hmm.
and we had bi-weekly online lessons.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, either yeah, it might have been weekly at first, but later on, just every 2 weeks, I guess.
So that's pretty, I mean, so that's pretty serious. I mean, if you're having bi-weekly lessons. So your dad was pretty serious about you getting strong, or was it something that you wanted?
Um, probably both of us, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so that's pretty cool though. So, I mean, when you got lessons, that must have been pretty, I mean, that is relatively serious. Do you remember the first time you were able to beat your dad?
Um, in a tournament game, I kind of remember, but I mean,
Oh, so it wasn't even, so you don't, do you play your dad casually at home or just, is it mostly,
no, we don't play. I
yeah.
mean, I guess many years ago,
Uh-huh.
we might have played every couple months, something like that, but it
Right.
was never a regular thing, nothing like that.
Okay. But yeah, so eventually at some point, I guess you were stronger than your dad then. And then
Yeah,
that must have been pretty interesting.
yeah. I mean, it took quite a long time. He was quite strong
He's
when he played.
was he like AGA 5 or 6 Don? He's really strong, I think.
He's AJ 7 on.
Oh well. Yeah, so it must have taken a while. But that still must have been pretty cool to like know that you were stronger than your dad.
Yeah,
Uh,
it wasn't a bad feeling though.
But yeah, and then I think so. There was always that. I mean, I've always known you to be stronger than. So so when you were, that means that if you met your dad, and do you remember around how old you were when you were able to be like AGA 7 down and play against your dad?
I think when I was around 13, 13, 14, something like that.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool. And then yeah, so yeah, that must have been four. Yeah, that must have happened before I met you because I think I've always remembered you being in the strong players room. But
I think it happened around the same time.
yeah.
Like I remember in 2003 Houston, like we were talking in a car on the way to the airport, I think.
Oh wow.
Something like that.
What happens when you beat your dad? Do you even talk about the game then, or are you just sort of like, well, you won, son. Good job.
Well, I mean, we talk about the game
Uh huh.
no matter what. I mean, I guess like like when we played when I was younger, like there was like it was basically a lose-lose situation
Yeah.
because whoever lost the game
Right.
wouldn't feel good about it.
Right. I guess that explains why I didn't play that often. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even though it's supposed to be a casual game in theory, somehow I guess we were both a little too serious about it.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what happens when you do something like that with your parents. I mean, and it's a weird thing because, in a way, it's either someone's got to be right or wrong, especially at your level. Because I remember talking with William, it's a lot of reading and then whatever works rather than like, at my level where it's like, oh, maybe I just thought something incorrectly and then I just somehow won. It might be different.
Right. Yeah.
So were you still taking lessons at that point, or were you just self study?
I was still taking online lessons
Oh wow.
with Mr. Yang.
So what age were you when you stopped really worrying about lessons?
I think maybe my last year of high school, something like that.
Oh wow. And
That's when I finally stopped.
was that something that Mr. Yang said, or was that something that you just like? Was he just like, at this point you're probably better off just doing self study, or was it something that you decided?
It was something that I decided.
Okay. And so I guess with that, I mean, there always comes a point because you've done a lot of Go events like overseas and just in general that I've seen like the e-journal will talk about it about like you overseas playing. I mean, you're not going in that with a lighthearted thing, but when did you start really taking it seriously in terms of doing a lot of that stuff?
Um, I guess Go has always been pretty serious for
Oh,
me.
really?
But even though when I was younger, there were like these long breaks I would take
Hmm.
from the game. I guess somehow I didn't like the game so much.
Yeah, no, I
Maybe
understand.
like I guess during the school year or whatever.
Right.
But then like I guess maybe during the last couple of years of high school, I started taking it more seriously. Like I remember when I was 16 or 17, I was playing on KGS a lot.
Okay.
So
And I guess that was the point then that sort of went along with that. I mean, so but I mean, there's still a decision just to go overseas and learn because you've been to China to study, right? Or am I thinking something else?
right, yeah.
Yeah, and then so you've done that, and then also just playing in these pretty big tournaments. I mean, was it just a natural transition of well, okay, then just gonna go here and play and do these things, or was it still like was it still a major decision? Like, okay, I'm gonna start really focusing by going to these places.
Right. So I I hadn't been to Asia or China to study Go intensively until 2 years ago, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And
Um, 2 years ago, I was in China for a couple months,
mhm.
and I studied at a Go school there.
Was it in Beijing or somewhere else?
Yeah, yeah, it was in Beijing.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because wow. And I know I've talked to a bunch of people. I know like William Gangsheng Shi's talked about it, and then also like Ming Ming's talked about it. I mean, how it's pretty go intensive, and a lot of people there have a lot of pressure. I mean, what did you feel when you went to those go schools?
It was really intense. I mean, I guess I guess I really it was just about what I expected, I guess.
Okay, so it wasn't like too big of a shock for you.
No, I mean, for me the most enjoyable part was being able to play face to face, like almost every day.
Okay,
Um, yeah,
that's
I mean the schedule itself was pretty intensive. Like aside from the league games,
hmm
um, we were expected to do a lot of self-study.
yeah. And so with the self study, is it just playing pro games and doing life and death, or is it something more like, or do they still have people that you can go ask for reviews or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, mostly it was replaying pro games and solving life and death. And actually, in the early morning, we were expected to do an hour of life and death. And then,
Like they
yeah,
just give you a sheet of life and death and it's like do these 10 questions.
right. It was about 20 problems of just pure life and death. And after an hour, it was pencils down, and and then right after that, it was time to play our first game.
How many games would you say you played in a day? Just one serious game or like more than one?
The schedule was two serious games a day, one in the morning
hmm
and one in the afternoon. And then after the afternoon game, we would go over the life and death problems. Actually,
Oh, okay.
the teacher in the room would usually a pro
hmm
would start up the overhead projector and you know just look at the life and death.
No, isn't it? But I mean, even then, I always thought that with stuff like that, it's just like here's the move. Like, is there much to talk about outside of that, or is it just like are they also talking about why certain other moves maybe not be optimal, or like because I mean maybe I'm doing life and death problems wrong, which wouldn't surprise me. Like when I look at a life and death question, like I see it, I try to find the one move, and if I don't see it, I look at you know what the answer was, and it's like okay, that's the answer. Like what am I like? How are you doing life and deaths on your own, or even like in a classroom perspective like that or situation?
Well, in the classroom, basically the teacher would just go would just go over like the common moves, like maybe the common mistakes that we made.
Mm-hmm.
Like for a particularly hard one, he might be like he might start off with like a wrong move, for example. Like and he'd say like the majority of the class played here, and and it's actually wrong, even though it's the first feeling or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Or he would say, or for an easier problem, he would just be like, "Well, I'm pretty sure everyone in the class except for three people got this right." I mean,
That's
and
pretty
he'd be like,
harsh.
"Yeah," and then like the kids will look around the room and be like, "Who are these people?"
Right.
And it's like, yeah, it's pretty funny.
But did they? So in terms of the moves, then they're not explaining too much. It's still just sort of like this is the right move. These are the wrong moves that you guys did. Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
and it was actually a little bit strict because pretty sure like the four lowest scores in the classroom,
Right.
4 or 3 or something, they had to pay like either five to 10 yuan.
Oh, really? So like they had to make it sting it, like have some sort of risk to it in terms of getting it wrong or motivation.
Yeah.
Interesting. But I mean, so I guess, hmm. So then you did this after the because you've done the pro exam for the American pro exam quite some times, right? I think.
Yeah, I played in every single one since 2012.
Okay. And was it sort of? Did you go to? So when you did these, were they things that you were doing just to try to get yourself better, or were there things that you were doing outside of? Like, was becoming an American pro a big goal for you, or was it just part of you just wanting to get better as a Go player?
Well, I mean, it probably wasn't my major goal.
Right.
I mean, my main goal was to just get stronger.
Right. Because I mean, you were playing in pretty big events even without the designation, right?
Yeah.
So, so it wasn't necessarily like you going to China to study wasn't necessarily the response to not doing so well or not getting the not becoming pro, right?
Ah, no, no.
Oh, that's pretty cool though. So let's see. So I mean, with the results of like not becoming pro, is there certain things that you took away from it that every year, or was it just sort of like I tried this year, it didn't work out, I'll just try next year?
Well, after the first time, I guess I was pretty close,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe not that close actually.
Right.
So then afterward, I guess there's some reflection, like I reviewed my games and tried to figure out what I was maybe thinking during the important moments.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think William talked about the same thing, where a lot of it ends up being, it's not really the reading, it's sort of like your mental decisions, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And so, do you think there's actually something different, maybe with how you play now compared to how you played then, or is it just you're just stronger in terms of being able to do problems and stuff?
Well, I mean, as far as playing differently, it's a little bit hard to say. I think during the past couple of years, my my game has changed. I mean, I'm not sure how it's changed, but
Oh, I see.
just subtle changes, I guess. I
Yeah,
mean, I think getting stronger is the main part.
I see. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because I mean, for me, with my rank, it's pretty easy. It's like, oh, I learned these Joseki, this learned this Fuseki or something, or just sat down and just got better at reading. Because I can look at a game. I mean, there have been times I look at a game that I've lost like 4 or 5 years ago, and if I just scroll through it without thinking, I can say, okay, I don't know what I did wrong. But if I sit there and look at it, sometimes it's pretty obvious. Like, oh, why am I like letting him off easy or something like that? But I always wondered, like, at your rank, maybe how strong you're playing. Maybe you've been able to see or feel something different.
Hmm. Well, I think uh, year after year, like it's like the changes in my game. I guess I kind of measure my results against maybe opponents online or something like that.
Oh, I see.
I'll like maybe some opponent that was really hard for me to beat.
Hmm.
Like there would be that one game where I'll actually manage to win,
All right.
and then and from that moment there is a subtle change, I think.
Yeah.
Like and I'll gain I'll gain confidence from that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, would you say at your level you get to play a lot of different people, or is it like on like an online Go server or something, or is it just basically the same like 5 to 10 people?
Well, online, especially on servers like TiJam
Right.
or WBaduk,
Hmm.
I can play many different strong players. So
And so you might be playing different people. It's not like I think like on KGS maybe there's like a handful of really high rankers that show up, but you get a bigger selection with like Taijim and W Baduk.
yeah, definitely. I
Okay.
mean, if I really wanted to avoid playing anyone more than once,
Hmm.
I'm I'm pretty sure I could do that.
Okay.
I could do that for a very long time, actually. I think because there's so many opponents out there.
Right. I mean, it just feels like, yeah. For me, I just would feel like at some point you're not gonna see that many strong people, but I guess not. I mean, when you play these, like, what time settings are you using? Like, how serious are the games with the time settings?
Well, they're usually pretty fast, like 20 or 30 seconds a move.
Really? I mean, so you aren't gonna play like a 40 minute, 50 like 5 30 second Byoyomi online?
Oh, it's really hard to play a game with long basic time.
Really?
Yeah, because strong players are always just playing fast games. I mean, faster the better, I guess.
Really? Is
Yeah.
I mean, is that helpful somehow, or is it just because they're just impatient?
Actually, it's a kind of training, you know. Um, you know, the theory in getting stronger, at least at the top or a reasonable strong level,
Hmm.
is to play as many games as possible. You know,
It's
is to
exposure.
accumulate that experience.
Oh, okay.
The the and get the um in-game experience.
Sort of like just really quickly see how certain things interact with each other.
Right. And the problem with slow games, I
Hmm.
mean, not that slow games are inherently bad or anything, but they just take a long time to play, right? So like
Right.
if you play a slow game and say it lasts like an hour and a half or maybe 2 hours,
Right.
uh, I guess I guess there's not as much benefit as say playing three or four somewhat faster games in that period
Right.
of time.
So I mean, but you're still probably gonna run against like a misread by. Are you? Do you get hit misreads by at that point, or is it still? It's pretty straightforward. Like
You mean
at in your faster games. Like, are you getting misreads then, or because that would stink if you're like at your level and you lose because of a misread, rather than just like, or am I thinking of it incorrectly?
well actually mysteries happen all the time. I mean especially in fast games.
Right.
But the but the but I guess the main helping point of the fast games is to train your instincts. The
Oh, okay.
train to train the first feeling, you know. Especially when you only have about 20 seconds per move, I mean, it really helps you to focus
Okay.
on the on just the next move and then the move after that.
Now, is there like would you say? I mean, there's the jury's still out, and there's always a whole argument about certain players if they want to get better with blitz or slow games. I've heard slow games. I like to think that slow games are better, at least at an we'll say an amateur rank of like however many to let's say like 3 to 4 dan, because you need to think out these things. Uh, and then other people say, like you're saying, with the experience and playing blitz. I mean, is there a way you see it or a way you feel about it with blitz games, maybe at a weaker level?
Well, I think I think I think there has to be a balance, you know.
Uh,
Like I think ideally you would just play slow games all the time, but I guess because of time constraints.
right.
I mean I'm not saying to play like the fastest possible time setting, you know, like blitz games could be as fast as 10 seconds per move.
Right.
I mean that's
Is
I
that
mean that's
pushing
pretty
it?
fast. Yeah. Although it's also um a way to train. I mean many top players play 10 seconds per move. But I think I think until you get to quite a strong level, it's not a good idea to play that fast.
Right. Yeah, I had a Chinese teacher once who said that. He said like, at least with me, he said like, hold off on playing blitz until you're 5 dan. This was someone in China because he was just like, because a lot of you're not gonna be able to pay attention to how things are supposed to interact with each other, and then you might, you know, play the wrong thing over and over, and just, I guess like you're saying, you develop the instinct that that's the way you're supposed to do it when you're not supposed to. So
Right. Yeah, definitely. I think it's possible to develop bad habits. I mean, if you're not strong enough.
right. Um. So I guess let's go back and talk about sort of major events that you've played before you got and became before you came pro. Do you have any major ones that you remember playing or like thinking about that were sort of memorable? That maybe you played someone really interesting, or just how it went was sort of interesting.
Well, in 2013, I played in the Samsung Cup.
Right.
That was the first year I think the Samsung there was a world division for eight amateurs, eight Western amateurs
Right.
from Europe and North America, and so so I managed to qualify out of those eight people for for a seat in the main tournament, right?
Okay.
And the thing about the Samsung Cup that's really cool is that it's a double elimination.
Oh, cool. So you can at least have one loss and you can still keep stay in the game.
Right. Um, so I think it was 32 people, and they split us into eight different groups
Hmm.
by random drawing. And I was placed in the same group as Lee Sedol.
Oh, wow. That must have been pretty cool. Did you? Well, okay. Keep going with the story. I'm probably interrupting you, but go ahead.
And so it happened that Lee Sedol and me both lost our first games against other people,
Hmm.
and then we played the next day in the second round.
Oh, you played him.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize that. Shows how much I know about certain Go topics. So, how was that? Was it? Do you remember much about the game?
Oh, I remember the content of the game.
Hmm.
I mean, it definitely wasn't one of my better games.
Right. Was it like nerves or something, or was it just maybe just how you were that day?
I think I think somehow I was trying to push a little bit too hard
Oh, I see.
because no, my opponent was
Lisa
so
Joel.
strong.
Now there's an interesting thing that William talked about, even like because he played the Jubango with him and some other people against Lee Sedol, and he was saying like, for him it was interesting because looking back on the game, he feels like before me playing him, you would always think, oh my gosh, these are like some people that are so high up that I won't even have a chance. And then afterwards, when he was reviewing the game, he was like, okay, so there still is a chance. He's not going to be as intimidated as before. I mean, like looking back on the game or just thinking about it now, do you sort of have the same feelings about that? Like that game you played with him?
Well, I mean, during the game, I could feel I could I could feel the power in his moves, if you will.
Really?
Yeah. I mean there was definitely something that I could sense from from his play that was obviously a few levels above mine. But but at the same time, he is human, and
Right.
like during our review, he
Hmm.
actually pointed out a few areas that he could have done better. But no, actually, he was he was probably just looking to coast
Right.
to win. I mean, he knew against someone like me, he didn't have to play the best moves.
Right.
So yeah,
That's still pretty cool. I mean, like I always felt like certain people I play, like there's like people I play that I know I have a chance or I feel like I have a chance, and then either I did it right, I did it wrong, I wasted it, like I didn't even see it. And then there's also people I play that like I feel like I have no chance, and like that's how I always judge like how many levels someone's stronger than me is like how I feel about that. But that's pretty cool. Now, when he talked, did he speak to you in Chinese? Does he know Chinese, or was it like did he have a translator?
no, actually, we didn't speak at all. He doesn't know Chinese as far as I know.
Right.
So
So he was able just to like point to certain places and then maybe play one or two different moves, and you were able to get what he was talking about.
yeah, yeah,
Well, that's pretty cool, though. I mean, that's still, I mean, not many people get a chance to play Lee Sedol, so that's a pretty awesome opportunity.
yeah. I was really lucky to get the chance.
Cool. Let's see. Let's talk about. I guess let's talk a little about this year's uh, pro qualification or the pro exam. I mean, going into it, I mean, you had a really good result. You had 9-1. Was there anything like going into it? Were you pretty confident, or were you still sort of like just let's see how I do, and we'll roll with it as it goes?
I was reasonably confident.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, you were up against some pretty tough competition. I felt like I know like who was the first guy you played? Starts with a B.
Ben Ben
Ben.
Lockhart.
Ben Lockhart's also been studying a lot. I mean, so but you were. I mean, yeah. I mean, your biggest goal lately, I think as we talked about, has just been getting stronger. So, but yeah, I guess you were. So, but you were relatively just. You were in a good spot mentally going into the sorry, my mind's not working. The exam, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for me, it was just about playing playing as well as I could.
Okay.
Uh, looking back, I guess the first day was always the most important day.
Right.
Like the first couple of games, you're just kind of warming up and getting a feel. I
Okay.
think I, I think I think I think it's always like the very first game. It's like it's like when you're most vulnerable, I guess.
Oh, I
So,
see.
yeah, I think so.
So, I mean, what do you do in between each game, or just in general during those days? Were you reviewing your games with anybody, or were you just trying to keep yourself mentally relaxed or anything?
I guess I was trying to relax, but I think I was still pretty tense. Now, like there wasn't much of a break between the first and second games of each day.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then, like, when the day was over, you were just like, let's just go to sleep and get ready for tomorrow? Or did you, like, maybe call up your dad or call up Yun Yang and be like, look at this game, what'd I do?
Well, actually, my dad was there with me.
Oh, cool. Oh, that
Yeah.
must have been nice. Like, when you finally, got the pro designation, was he pretty happy about it?
He was reasonably happy. I mean,
That's good. I think so. Congratulations. I'll tell it to you in
thank
person when we see each other at Go Congress. You know, but congratulations. I don't know if I'll ever get to that level, but it'll be pretty amusing if I was able to do it too. I think I saw on the e-journal you said you're not, you haven't really spent too much time thinking about sort of what you're going to do next, but you are going to pursue a lot of Go. Um, has anything like any plans emerged since then? Or are you still pretty much like taking it easy and just still like the idea of getting stronger?
Well, in the near future, I'm going to be playing in a couple big events. Coming up at the end of February, I'll be going to China for the World Mind Games.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it's well, there's going to be six countries.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, six countries. Yeah, countries. Yeah, that's the word, I guess. Yeah, China, Japan, Korea,
Korea.
Taiwan, Europe, and North America.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, I'm on the North American team.
Oh, nice. Who else is on the team? Do you know?
It's there's a total of four players.
Uh huh.
Three male and one female. The male is Ryan Lee,
Oh, cool.
last year's AGA Pro. There's Mingju,
Oh, cool.
me, and Sarah Yu is the
Ah,
female
yes.
member.
So let's talk a little bit about Sarah Yu, just because I saw a few of her games, uh, and she was playing some slightly unconventional moves. I remember I think we talked about it once, but she didn't get to play the unconventional moves against you because she was white. I
That's
mean, how often do you get to see unconventional moves in a game? Do you think? Like, if someone played a 5-5 or a 10 gen or let's say Great Wall of China opening or something like that, how often do you really get to see something that like left field, just weird?
sadly not that often. Like I think I think in serious tournament games,
Hmm.
there's a very small chance that you'll get a player who will play something totally unusual.
Right.
I mean, if only because it's simply not practical, right? I mean, when you're playing a tournament, winning is the bottom line.
Right.
It's the absolute most important thing. So, especially strong players, you know, they've I mean, they've always prepared like their strongest opening, and like they're always preparing
Oh, I see.
for for especially important games, and like especially for games such as in a protest,
Hmm.
it's probably even less likely to run into something super unusual,
Right.
unless that particular player has been playing this unusual opening for let's say many years.
Ah, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Then it's not so unusual for them. But but then it turn but then they turn it around on you because you've never seen it before. No.
Right.
So
So how do you? I mean, sort of everything for me as a player is sometimes feels new. I mean, there's something familiar about, let's say, a Kobayashi opening or a Chinese opening or a mini Chinese opening. But when it's something just completely that goes against, maybe like a corner side center or something that you've been trained, how do you have a way of thinking about it or reacting to it, um, to to make sure that you're still playing a good move, or is it like how do you usually, if someone played like a weird move against you, what would you start thinking, or how would you react to it?
Well, I I would hope that I'll be able to first of all be calm, just like trust my trust my own feeling for the game
Right.
and just follow the basic theories.
Okay.
Like,
Cool. Cool.
yeah. I think I think I think as long as you do that, it's I think you should welcome the challenge, I guess,
Cool.
of of a strange opening or whatever.
Have you ever tried playing something weird, just maybe as like an one off or for a little while on your like online accounts or anything?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, I mean, it's pretty fun to try something new. Like when I was training in China, there was so during our league games, right? Like after the game in the afternoon,
Hmm.
we had like this extra tiebreaker game. Like it was it was a game where we could where the time limits were a whole lot faster, and it was weighted less than
Okay.
the normal game. Like basically it's like a point system, right?
Hmm.
Like a slow game would be worth like 2 points for the winner, zero if you lose, and
Hmm.
a slow game is worth just 1 point or something like that. So
Right.
you know like like in that game it was it's like sometimes I would like try something totally strange just because there was less on the line. So
Right. Is there typically something you can pull out from it, or is it just sort of like, well, let's just try and see what we get, or do you? Is it usually is there usually a pretty big result? Like, okay, like maybe this is pretty interesting, or like for you, like that type of experimentation, does it usually bear some sort of fruit?
well, I think in general, like the opening is not like it's definitely not solved. I
But
mean,
mhm.
by any extent.
Right,
And I mean it's pretty important, but it's also not crucial to how do I say to get a complete ideal opening that you're comfortable with.
I've
Like
heard that. I mean, especially at my level, my teachers are always I I've heard it. Joseki isn't super important. Opening, really understanding the opening isn't super important because it comes down to middle game and what you're doing, how you sort of react to what you've been handed. Is it still sort of like that for you too?
yes, it's that's pretty accurate. Like winning winning and losing, that's usually decided sometime in the middle game
Uh huh.
or
End game.
later on.
Yep.
Like the opening is more a stage where you try to get something that you're comfortable with so that you can play the middle game more easily. Or
Oh, I've never thought of it like that.
right.
I always thought of it as like you need to get some sort of definite advantage in the opening, which I guess that's
I s-
incorrect.
I mean I mean it's always nice to come out of the opening with an advantage.
Right.
But I mean I mean there is a concrete reason why you always see players playing these common openings in tournament games, and that's simply to save time, right?
Right.
Because in a tournament game, time limits are always very fast, and it's not a very good idea to spend a lot of time in the opening. And when you're trying new things in the opening, naturally you'll be spending time.
Oh, right.
So so of course there's a trade-off, right?
Hmm.
And like in this particular game, you want to try something new. You want to relax a bit, maybe have a bit of fun.
Right.
But you might be lowering your chances of winning at the same time,
Right.
right?
That's
So,
interesting. And so, and something else, not related to this, but I mean, you've had a chance to play, people in China and Asia, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and stuff. Well, Taiwan's sort of new, but I
mm.
mean, between like Taiwan and Europe and a lot of these newer countries that are getting into Go, is there anything that you're taking away from it, like playing against them? Is it like outside of maybe them being strong? Is it like is there something about playing these people and like the sort of the newer introductions into the Go community that is a pretty interesting or any certain takeaways from that?
You're saying newer,
Like, well,
Taiwan and Europe in particular, you're saying?
let's say Europe because I think Taiwan's relatively established in comparison, relatively speaking. But like playing like a European pro, is there something about them like that's sort of like maybe different or than maybe playing a like a Korean or Japanese pro, or just something like surprising about playing against these people? No is a perfectly fine answer.
Well, I mean, I'd say there's always a different feeling when you're playing a European player as compared to an Asian pro. I mean, there's always a slight difference in style,
Right.
um, which you see right away, and there's always a difference in, I guess, skill. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well.
and there's always a there's always some uh, there's always a difference in familiarity with like basic Go techniques and things like that.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, like I've always felt that even with like how Americans typically learn Go. I mean, like, because like when I learned, I didn't really go through a teacher until much, much later, and like things I thought to be that I thought were to be true were quickly proven wrong by having a teacher. But it's very hard to shake those things off.
Yeah, especially when you've been on your own for so long, like when
Right.
suddenly like you get like this opinion from high above. You're like, well, all right,
Yeah.
yeah, let me try and apply that,
Right.
next time.
Yeah, and
It's not always so easy.
and like the funny thing was like I remember one of the I don't think he was a Korean pro, but he was a Korean player, and he came over to one of the Go congresses, and he was like, "I've been reviewing all your like games, and I've like you all play like old Japanese men." And I was like, "Well, that's who taught us. Like
Uh,
that's who sort of brought it over to America, and that's sort of how we've been thinking." And Go's sort of changed since then. So I always wondered. I think maybe Europe is the same way, and the people who've passed it over. So, um, go ahead.
yeah, so like the thing with like Go in the West, like say the US and Europe, is that we don't yet have like the competitive environment.
Right.
Like say in Asia, especially China and Korea, like the kids in the Go school, they're training all the time. Like basically, I feel like in the US and Europe, we have the skill,
Mm.
but like there's always like long stretches of time where where we're not in like tournament mode,
Oh yeah.
or we're not like totally in shape.
Oh, I see.
You know?
Well, that's pretty interesting. Huh.
Yeah, I feel like when I was training in China intensively,
Hmm.
I was, I mean, I guess I was at like the peak of my level, I think.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, like the one thing that Ming Ming said once was, there's always a sort of like when she plays as a like when she's in like a pro mode, there's always like a really high amount of pressure on her. And I guess if you lose some of that pressure, maybe it your moves might not have the same urgency, or you might not be as focused as you should be.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something completely invigorating to be surrounded by, so many kids, who are training probably harder than you are
Yeah.
while you're at the school. But
Cool.
like during during the months I was there, like I feel like I really improved a lot, like more than I might have imagined, like in the first place. Like I have to say, like I hope it wasn't like the best couple months of my life, but
Right.
it was up there. You know,
It definitely you could feel it's interesting because like as a Go player, I think like when newcomers come into the game, I always tell them like you're gonna have this wonderful feeling of progression early on because you learn something new, be it like like a certain technique or just don't do this, or maybe like a certain sequence of moves, and you can immediately see it being used. And I feel like as you get stronger, maybe you don't. It's not as obvious that feeling of progression. Is that sort of like the same feeling that you get sort of with what you were getting when you were at that in that environment, like some sort of feeling of progression or like some change?
well, actually, the feeling of progression was more, I guess, internal.
I
Like
see.
if Because sometimes like the results they wouldn't really show themselves.
Right.
Like I would like I might be losing a lot, but like losing is totally normal, right?
Right.
And then so it's like basically you just gotta like keep it in perspective. I think just the experience of playing and training, you can take it to heart that that you're improving, um, and it's quite natural,
Cool.
And then of course there's always those stretches where you actually feel like you're you're at your peak, mentally, physically, like everything is clicking,
Mm-hmm.
and you just like reel off like 6 7 wins in a row against strong players, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm definitely really strong now. But there's there's like ups and downs.
Right.
So yeah,
Cool.
you know what they say. Try not to get the highs don't want me too high and the lows
Right.
never too low.
You're not as yeah. I don't know the yeah. Let's talk about because you were doing this before we started the interview. You were watching bots, which surprises me because I would have never thought you'd be interested in it. Like, is there do you watch a lot of bots, like computer Go bots, a lot?
Not so much actually. Just recently, I started taking a look at a couple bots on KGS.
Right.
Because actually the strongest bots are now between 5 and 6 ton on KGS, which is a really impressive level, I think.
Right.
Um,
Now, like, really fucking 6 down. Wow, they're stronger than me. That's not good. Yeah, because I mean, there's like the famous one with like Google's got a bot that they're testing out. I think Facebook's got a bot that they're testing out, and then Many Faces and Zen have one. I
Yeah.
mean, when you watch them, like, what are you? Is there anything in particular that you're taking away from like watching them play, or is it just interesting to see, trying to see like why they're playing the moves that they play?
Well, basically, I'm just trying to get like a feel for, I guess, strengths and weaknesses of of a bot. I I mean to me, it's I can easily see, um, I guess the bot's weaknesses, but then like the strengths are also really impressive to me. You know,
So
especially,
what would like a strength and a weakness be that you've seen?
uh, strengths, for one, I like they seem to be really strong at local fighting,
Okay.
and especially the in a fast time setting, you know, the bots seem to have a clear advantage over people. You know,
Now is that
I've actually played a couple of the bots
oh,
myself.
now is it also just I mean, is it local that works only locally, or is it also a local result that works really well, like for the whole board?
Um,
Like, can you trick it into making it think that it's like, oh, this is a great result, but globally, like for the whole board, it's a bad result, or is that pretty rare?
maybe. I haven't played so many games yet, but
Mm,
you know, as far as like just brute force reading, I think the bots are quite good with that.
cool. And what about a weakness that you've seen?
Weaknesses, I think I think when the situation gets complicated, like or like with like codes and semi-eyes
Oh, I see.
calculations, they're they're a little bit too rigid, I guess. No.
Huh. It's interesting. Maybe one of them will listen to this and be able to do something about that, and then they can prove you wrong.
Yeah, I actually have high expectations for the bots. I feel like you know, it might not take too much longer for a truly strong program to reveal itself.
Really? I've actually, well, I mean, I'm actually impressed that they're at the level they are now, but I always hear, it just feels like it'd be difficult to have a bot play on like that high of a level because it feels like there's just so much to think about. Um,
Right.
I don't know. I'll have to find someone to talk about who does that type of stuff because it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a little bit scary, you know, the thought of having a bot stronger than me.
Right.
I mean, but you know, it could be kind of cool at the same time.
Yeah.
But you know, hopefully it doesn't happen too soon.
I hope it doesn't happen at all, personally. But I guess it could be a matter of time, or it could be something. Let's see. We're hitting an hour here, so we can have like maybe like another topic or two.
All right.
Let's see. What about this? Do you get to review anybody else's games much, or like teach other people?
I haven't really been going into teaching much.
Yeah, I mean, but you've seen enough games from, I guess, from like a Western perspective and also like an Eastern perspective, right? Well,
Western,
oh,
sure. Yeah.
like maybe from America, like people teaching players from America rather than players from China. I think we were like touching about this a second ago with how Americans are using like older information and like we're our thinking are still style and then like goes change a lot and maybe uh like Asian people who play are still like from China, Korea, and Japan are still playing maybe differently than how we've been taught. Does that make sense? I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
is there anything you would say is a common mistake, or maybe like a common piece of advice you would say for a lot of these people if they wanted to get better,
you
or
mean
maybe just in general?
you mean for Western players?
Yeah,
Well, I think maybe Western players focus on theory a bit a bit more.
right.
Um,
We do look at a lot of. Every time I go to Go Congress, the books that are most empty are like the theory books, as opposed to like the life and death books.
right. I mean, theory is good. I mean, in itself, but you have to compliment
Back it up.
complement it with some life and death.
Yeah.
It's like it's all about like the. I mean, as far as if you only want to get stronger and like that's like the bottom line and like nothing else matters, um, then the fastest way would be to simply do two things. One is to play as much as possible. If you can find strong opponents in person,
Hmm.
that's great. If you can't, then go online.
Right.
That's also good. And also, after every game, you should try to review it a bit. I mean, with yourself is fine, or if you can get someone stronger than you, that would be even better.
Right.
Just 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 every game you play, just try to get maybe one or two little nuggets out of it.
Yeah. That sort of reminds me like of when, because you saw me. Well, I dragged you along to it, but when I did the Long Sen interview over at Go Congress, it was
Mm.
sort of like the same thing. Like his was a lot of just like reviewing your own games as well. That like it is weird when you do stuff like that because I guess that's when you need the stronger player is like when you I feel like it's very hard to maybe sometimes misinterpret what went wrong, at least at my level. That like I don't sometimes know if what my if I if I take the wrong idea out of it, then I'll be just like completely messing up my game. If that makes sense. So
Yeah, I see. I think maybe maybe the review could be optional. I mean, try to review it, but don't I don't know, maybe don't take it too seriously. I mean, maybe that's a bad way to put it, but
no, I think I yeah, because I mean I get that feeling where I've taken a few breaks from Go where I would dread the review because I already felt bad about the game that the review
uh,
would make me feel like even worse about the game that like even if I won I felt like I did a bad job of winning that
uh, I
so
see.
so I think I see where you're getting at with that.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe you gotta like take a step back, like just just wipe your memory for just pretend like this is someone else's game. We're just looking at something.
Right. And
And
it's go ahead.
and of course, life and death problems are also crucial to getting stronger.
Now here's the thing. I had this talk with my teacher about this, but she was telling me that like when Chinese people say life and death, it's not just life and death. It's like life and death, Tetsuji, and endgame. Like when you say life and death, are you basically meaning the same thing that you should focus on like those three, or just typically life and death is good enough?
Well, life and death and Tsuji are very closely related. And
Okay.
as far as Endgame is concerned, I think Endgame is a little bit harder to study by itself, but if you study Life and Death and Tsuji, they they help with their Endgame
Oh,
because in the Endgame it's also almost all pure reading, and Tsuji helps you to find those moves in Endgame that can gain you points in it, and it's also quite useful in that regard. They say in Go there's you can read maybe about 90%,
Huh.
and or they say like 90% of Go requires some form of reading. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a better way to put it.
Right.
So so to so the easiest way to improve your reading would be to solve life and death problems.
Interesting. That's
Or
pretty
maybe it's not the easiest, but it's the most direct way.
right.
Like the easiest way to improve your reading might be to just practice games and then practice your reading during that.
I see.
But of course, life and death is it's the most tangible and concrete method for measuring your own progress. And also, I think when you're solving life and death problems, it's important to do problems for your level. Not too difficult and not too easy. Just problems where you can think maybe a couple minutes or maybe up to 5 to 10 minutes
Uh-huh.
per problem, and then look at the answer. I think
Cool.
should.
And when are you doing on a board, or are you doing yours in your head?
Well, recently I've actually been doing a lot of it online.
Oh, like on the like click 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 click.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with W Baduk, the Korean Go server.
I know about it. They have Go problems on there?
Yeah, on their website, there's an interactive sort of sort of thing where you can sort of go through the classical problem collections.
Huh. I might have to do that. I am really weak in life and death, so that's probably something a good idea for me. Cool. Well, let's final question, which is really easy one. I mean, like, are you still having a lot of fun playing Go, or is it a lot of just like hardcore reading, like stressful thinking?
I'm definitely having a lot of fun. Yeah,
Is it?
it's
Go,
I mean every game I play, I feel like it's really fresh. You
huh.
know, like there's just so much. There's so much I haven't cracked yet.
Oh,
That's
wait.
yeah. I mean,
Hold on.
I've,
Say that again. I mean, I think it just blipped out for a second. There's just it feels fresh, and they're just
it just feels. I find every game to still be really exciting. Like I said earlier, um, the the time I spent in China.
hmm
I hope it wasn't the best time of my life, but it was up there. I really loved it.
cool. Well, yeah. I mean, you have many more years of Go playing ahead of you, and I'm sure. So I'm sure the next time if we ever talk, I'll ask you about that. And I hope to really, hear that you've been having really more new and really interesting experiences.
Yeah, I hope I'll go back to train sometime.
Oh,
It might.
you're planning on going back to China?
I mean, maybe not China, but
Maybe
just-
Korea or Japan.
yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because like William and Andy, I think went back there. Cool. Well, cool. Thanks again for doing this. I really appreciate it, and
So,
I hope if you ever want to hang out and talk about some more things about Go, maybe after like one or two big events, we can probably talk about what went on and how it went. You're more than welcome to come back and hang out and talk more stuff about Go.
yeah, sure, man.
Yeah.
Sounds like the time.
And are you going to Go Congress this year?
Um, I
Maybe.
I should be going. Yes.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, I'll definitely see you then and give you congratulations in person.
Uh,
Cool. Well, thanks again for doing this, and whenever the next episode comes out, I'll see all the audience members then. So, bye, guys.
All right. Thanks for having me.